was a kid, we had a monster in our basement. My father said if I'd done wrong, it'd creep out at night and come for me. I tried to do no wrong, but the monster came all the same.
Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Wolfenstein, the Old Blood, Uber difficulty video walkthrough. This is chapter 4, the escape, or escape as it's called. There was a transition because for some reason when you fuck up at this early stage, it puts you in a completely different position to when the checkpoint happened. But there you go. This is a two-parter because the final part is a boss and because the level itself is really long. This is also arguably the hardest level in the game. There are two that I find to be the most taxing as far as situations go. That being said, I didn't have that much of an issue on this level as I did with the last one because for some reason I just stumbled on some pretty good ways of doing it. The hardest part of this mission by far is the bridge with the heavy, then the dog. The dog thing killed me a bunch of times, but I didn't count it as, you know, real deaths as far as this is a tough section, because every time it killed me, it was either attacking me through a wall, which is bullshit, or it was one-shotting me with full life, or very close to that. So that's the type of stuff where I'm like, you know, fuck that, that's stupid. Like, I'm not looking at that as, wow, this is tough. I'm looking at that as, there's a way to do this where this doesn't happen, and this is completely different. So I just think the room we just did on Chapter 3 in the Keep, because you have no gear and because it's one of those things where it can go south really quickly, I think that is easily the most difficult room. For me, personally, of course. But here we're going to stealth, and we're also going to completely skip the firefight that's about to happen. I've done this firefight, shooting people and killing everybody, and it takes ages. It's a really long fight. It's also really dangerous too. And my strategy for doing that, if you want to do that, is to put your back against one of the corners of this room. It's that corner there to my right, just by that window. And then counter-shoot people as they run past the windows. Nobody will ever rush in this room as long as you don't open the door. The heavy can never get to you, and it takes forever, and it's actually pretty tough because their enemies are much better shots than you. However, that's completely unnecessary. It's a waste of ammo and it's a waste of time, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this window. We're going to turn on the tram, we're going to jump out of the window, we're going to go and sit in the tram, and for some reason the AI never comes to us, and if they did, we have two shotguns full of love to introduce the concept of getting the fuck out of my tram, a la Ghost style, even though he was on a train. But as soon as it goes off, run into this, and then park bang next to the controller. You cannot touch the controller until the door opens. The easiest way to tell when the door is opening is the shadow. If you look, you can see the shadow of it moving across the room. You see that? It's just on the right of the video if you can't see. When that stops, you can open the door and get out of here. At this point, the enemies know where you are. They could come for you. You can hear them moving right now, very close, but they just don't come in here. Don't know why. The heavy can't get in here, I don't think. I don't think he's small enough, but he never even shows interest. And there you go, there's your checkpoint. Fight skipped. How easy was that? And that's another reason why this chapter's not as tricky as the last one, because you cannot skip that room, the torture room. It's pretty intense. That fight, though, really tough when you don't do what I just did. Like, legitimately difficult. There's a lot of guys, and they just keep on coming. Even when you kill both the people, both the guys. Ooh, this is dangerous too. So this is a room where you might die just because there is a tram, sorry, it's a sky rail, isn't it? A monorail thing, coming on the other side of this monorail. And the people in it will throw grenades. They will throw grenades that will either kill you or they won't. A lot of the times you don't have enough time to dodge them for some reason. On my first playthrough, they instantly killed me twice. And on the time that I didn't die, I did nothing different. So just be aware and try and kill the people who go for the grenades. The people who throw grenades always go to the doorways to chuck them mostly, which is kind of a contradiction. Also, the fire extinguishers will blow up, but they don't seem to kill as well as you think they would. And my aim is terrible at the moment. There was a grenade that ended up helping us, which is great to see. That was me trying to hit the fire extinguisher. Drop the grenade, dude. Drop it. There you go. Oh, the fire extinguisher did kill that guy. Nice. And I think that's everybody on the monorail. the sky rail. I guess I don't really know the name of these things. But use your crazy pipe to do crazy monorail-y things. And when you drop down here, immediately turn and shoot up to your right. There is a commander who's about to set an alarm off. If you don't do this, a lot more dudes are going to turn up. But if you do this, you'll be okay. Now there is only a heavy on this corner who's waiting to ambush you. So put both your shotguns on and stick them in his mouth. So he's already moving around the corner as you get to it for some reason. He's always there. And now he's dead. And that is it for enemies on this part of the station. If you let that guy call the alarm, a ton of guys are going to be in here waiting for you. And you'll notice I'm looking for them, because I'm kind of confused where they are. And it turns out if you kill him, they're not there, which is really, really good to know. That right there is those rockets for the pistol. That was some armor that I skipped, which is really bad, Chris. Why did you do that? It's amazing what you spot when you're watching it when you're not playing. It is kind of crazy. It's funny how your brain works like that. It's so focused on, you know, you're not even looking at your periphery. You're looking so focused at certain aspects of the screen like this. Ooh, I tell a lie, folks. There's one more guy. It's another guy who doesn't like shotguns in his face. Should have really known because the music was still playing. But he's the last guy. And what's going to happen here is when you press this button, it's going to trigger another one of those carriages to come up the rail, and they're going to drop off a ton of dudes. But if you jump out the window and you get back on your tram thing, you can get out of here before they even arrive. I'm going to struggle to get through the door though, because you have to kind of jump crouch, which is something I haven't done in a long time in PC gaming. But it's like an awkward, weird jump into crouch to fit through, because the mantle just doesn't work as well. There we go, there it was. And as soon as you've done that, like, they've not even landed before you're fucking off, and then there's this weird strafe run that this... I don't know what actually does this. I think it's just some kind of jet. But the thing I find really baffling is I thought this was foreshadowing an encounter with a flying boss. There is no flying boss in this game. Like, there are the drone things that fire rockets who are actually really dangerous. That is not an enemy, by the way, that is a turret. I just tried to get a little eager and it didn't work so well. And at this point, don't worry about shooting them, just go and do the climb, because it's going to do a bit of a context-sensitive cutscene thing. However, you're going to take damage in it. So if you watch, all of this is essentially cutscene, and we're being injured. Which is another way that machine games commit to the first-person perspective, which is really cool, but also kind of questionable as well. But after this, there's a door that you have to go through. It's kind of tricky to get your orientation underwater, but as soon as you see it, hit it and then swim to the surface. And we're coming up on probably my personal trickiest room in this chapter. This is a room where my life is going to go down to probably the lowest it'll go in the game. And it's oh no, it's not this room, sorry, it's the next room after this, which I'm going to explain to you. There is a commander waiting by an elevator through 2 rooms worth of enemies, and there is tons of enemies. There's heavies, there's normal guys, there's a guy on a turret. It's a really awkward cave system that you would think would have a super sneaky shortcut to skip it all, but I couldn't find it. So instead, I end up doing a shootout, and the shootout, I get stubborn. And getting stubborn is foolish, guys. I am trying to win a shootout against a guy on a turret from a distance where I can't win, apparently. I just, for whatever reason, I could not beat him. And he's going to strip my life. It's going to be pretty miserable, but I'm still going to redeem it, and I'm still going to show you how to get the victory, and you can learn by my mistakes. So, there goes the first guy. We're now going to wait for the shotgun guy so we can blow up his tank. I could have took the shot then, but we still are not in alarm status, so I want to make sure he dies. That's definitely an alarm, but it's not a problem because it was inevitable anyway. Like, the enemies that come after this are not too bad. I'm going to push back here just in case, but it's not worth it because they don't rush you. I might have avoided a grenade, but, you know, what's a grenade in the grand scheme of things? Not too much. But this is me just being a little bit more paranoid than I need to be. So as we pop on this corner, you'll see them on the balcony. See them? This is pretty much all the reinforcements. It's a handful of dudes that come down. And then there's a drone. That is the most dangerous. Kill the drone. If you have the single-shot rifle on, it will kill the drone in one hit. That is what I should have been doing there. That was a mistake by me. That is something that hindsight will hopefully fix for you. One shot, one kill on those drones if you're using that rifle I had on previously. So my armor's nearly non-existent, which is annoying, but what can you do? I've not been playing as great as I could have here. This isn't even the room that I was talking about as well. The room is after this room physically, because there was one more commander here that I could have perhaps silenced and maybe not had to deal with these guys, but it's not the end of the world. This is not a tricky section. It's the next bit that's horrible. So, collect armor, collect your life, get yourself as buffed as you can, and then push onwards. So we've got 100 life and nearly 100 armor. It's as good as we can expect to be. You know, you can't be mad at that. I'm just going to be collecting some stuff. There's all kinds of sneaky things to try and find, guys. So you always want to try and at least check. Like, look at that. That is grenades. Grenades are such a great commodity in this game as well. You really do need them. But push onwards. There was the guy who rang the alarm. Watch this. This is hilarious. See you later, friend. I love that stuff with games where they move the second you shoot. It always happens. But now that we've done that, that could have admittedly been much smoother, but we've got everything back, so I'm not too bothered. This is the tough one. So, we climbed the wall, as we've been climbing all of this game. We now have a pistol on, which has swapped out our weapons, which is annoying, so you need to get rid of that. And this is when the firefight starts. So I'm going to use this as a shooting point to kill the guy with the barrel on his back, with the tanks. Then I'm going to try and thin the numbers, but you notice I'm going to get shot by the turret guy. So right now, I'm trying to shoot in between the armoured flanks of the turret where the gunner looks through. Because in every game where there is a turret, in all of my gaming experience, you can make this shot normally. Name a game I have took a head, I have took a scalp via doing what I'm doing here, when I actually do take a shot. And the good news here is if anybody throws grenades, because there is that ramp behind you, they're probably going to fall down the ramp and you will be okay. But have you noticed how I'm getting tagged constantly by the turret? He's always hitting me, and because he's got a turret, it's hitting my life and my armor, which I think most guns do on the game, but the turret's more so because the turret is incredibly damaging. And right now, maybe putting the scope on might have made this easier, but the scope doesn't magnify that much, and I never use it, if you're wondering, because I prefer iron sights. But there goes my armor. That grenade was a damaging grenade. There goes the second of the fat guys, the heavy guys, which is good news. But the turret guy is still giving me trouble, and I'm at that point now where I'm trying to shoot the tank next to him to blow him up, and I have the lowest your life can go without dying. So my stubbornness has cost me now, because this is probably going to be a restart. However, it isn't, because I know this room quite well, and I know where the armor is, and I know where the life is, and I also know those guys are going to be flanking around the right. The reason I did it this way, rather than going around there where I'm looking and shooting across that flank, is this place worked better on my practice run, because I wasn't stubborn and I wasn't trying to outshoot the turret guy. I was just outshooting everybody else. Which, if you look, this is really simple to do, because these guys will try and take cover, and you can pop... Look, I'm in cover, I took a bullet. Really dangerous. Turrets and cover, very dangerous. So run over here, pick up the life, and be careful on this corner, because if there's anybody rushing, they'll be here. Like him. Which, God, my aim was just all over the place right there. Couldn't keep up with him. There's some armour to bump us up a little bit, which is always good to see. A little bit of ammo, shotgun shells. Here's a couple of people joining the party, but well-placed shots will put them down. I think was that the commander? That was the commander. Wow, he came some serious distance. There's another guy who, for some reason, is fucking bulletproof. No, he's not. But controlling the engagement is not too tricky. Controlling the turret is where it's challenging. it's probably a better idea to fire the explosive pistol, or maybe throw a really good grenade to get rid of him early. But even then, I took the chance and I got rid of one of the heavies so that there was only one more heavy left. And the room after this is really simple, so I'm not worried, but I'm trying to see if I can see him, and I still kind of can't, and he can see me, which is a problem. But this is what turrets are meant to do, so it's hard to be angry with it. You know, you can't call a turret bullshit because it's what turrets do. They've always done this. But I like a fairness on my turrets. I like a... If I can shoot you and I can aim between those plates, you should die. And apparently either clipping or whatever makes this incredibly tricky to do. Hopefully you know exactly how to do it and you get that done. But he caused so much grief there that I really had to recover, and I think I recovered well, and hopefully you will too if you get down. But that is probably the trickiest part of this level. Just because, very long room, very tricky to stealth, and the turret just throws a wrench in the gears. But on this corner there's going to be a big super soldier. So, I hit him with a shotgun, I throw a grenade, and then I'm going to peek around and shoot him with probably the pistol, because I don't really want to waste too much ammo. I'm still going for the stun, which is kind of foolish when you can do such a cheesy way of killing this guy, because he can't do a thing, he can't hit you. If all you do is tilt out and shoot him, he can't touch you for some reason. This cover's too good. And there you go, Super Soldier's dead. So after the Super Soldier dies, you want to be careful here because there's a spawn that happens at the back where we came from, but for some reason in this video it never happened. Don't know why. So I'm going to pick up as much as I can, make sure I don't leave anything behind, and then we're going to push forward. There'll be a couple of guys to kill, and then you can immediately get on the elevator if you want. For some reason, on my first playthrough, I stayed and killed everybody. You don't have to, and I end up using the elevator on the recording run by accident, and it ends up skipping it, which is a really awesome and unexpected thing to do, which is obviously a strategy that can help you on the walkthrough. And it happens a few times in the recording of this where I go off script and I do something completely different and it turns out to be 100% better as a strategy. And I love that. That's my favourite kind of recording session, when I'm able to free flow, try different things and come up with better ways of doing it. Because sometimes it's easy to find a good strat and stick to it. The turrets are coming now, so I should put the rifle on again, and I don't. And right there I lose 30 of my armor to bullshit because I'm an idiot. And I say bullshit as my bullshit, not the computer's. They're doing it look, at my armor's gone, dude. Why am I doing this? I couldn't tell you. I must not have realised that I can kill him in one shot. It's frustrating to watch because I know I can handle that so much better, but learn from my mistakes, guys. The best thing you can do. Learn from your own as well. Hopefully the next time I play, I won't do that. But right here, when you press this, you will start to go up. But I stay to shoot because I find the shooting on this game really good, and I find it really fun because it's satisfying. It's got the right amount of variables that make it, you know, not super easy, but at the same time, it's not super hard either. And I mentioned earlier in this walkthrough that Far Cry 4's shooting depresses me because I just don't think it's high enough quality, and I think there's certain ways you can make it better that they'll just never do, because for some reason there's a lot of mentalities that get stuck in their own ways of thinking that they're doing it the best, and I just don't think that's true. Like, look at Halo, for example. Halo's shooting is really fun because it's all about gun skill. There's no real recoil, there's no real having to feather triggers and things like that. It's literally, if you can aim the dot on the screen on the thing you want to kill faster than the other thing putting its dot on you, you win the gunfight, you kill. And I love that. That's why I like Call of Duty, even though, you know, COD does have recoil on some guns that make it annoying to use them. Which, a lot of people think recoil and recoil management is a skill, which in some ways it is, but I don't think it's that much of a skill that it makes that much of a difference. Like, I'm a person who on Call of Duty 4 runs around with the MP5 with a red dot on it, and if you ever use the MP5 with the red dot, it accentuates the recoil, and if you shoot somebody full auto at mid to long range, it's a tricky gun to use, but you can learn to compensate and use it, and that's what separates, you know, a good MP5 player from somebody who's just average. But at the same time, it's easy to be that good player if you just practice it a little bit, you know, if you get used to it. And you can, of course, feather the trigger, which will definitely help, and work on your accuracy and things. But I've never really seen that as something to be, you know, praised. I just don't get it. It's like when a game has random spray on aimed shots. Like, what the fuck is that about? I appreciate guns in real life are hard to shoot, and guns are inaccurate. Like, the only gun I've ever fired was a shotgun, and I went clay pigeon shooting, and I was stunned that I was hitting the clay pigeons, but at the same time, it's kind of a miracle to miss, isn't it, if you think about it, because the spread of the shotgun is so goddamn good and godlike that, you know, hitting something at that distance, I'm thinking about video games where shotguns don't shoot farther than a cornetto, and boom, this shotgun's shooting, you know, 50 feet at something moving quite fast that's quite small. I'm like, wow, this is cool as shit. But at the same time, it's, you know, it's a big spray, so it's a nice beginner's tool. But other guns are hard to use, dude. You use a submachine gun at anything but close quarters, it's not going to be effective. That's why, you know, the military have assault rifles and battle rifles and things, because guns don't work like they do in games. There's not unlimited range, they don't shoot in straight lines, as much as they kind of do. Right, do I learn it now? Please learn it, Chris, please learn it. Please change guns, Chris. Do it, do it. Yeah, I think that's when I discovered it, folks. See that? And that's that massive face-palming moment when you're like, I can't believe that gun's so good against them, and I didn't know. Oh, so painful. But I just don't like putting my aimer on an enemy and pressing the trigger and seeing my bullet do something different. And I appreciate it that certain guns can have that kind of characteristics. I appreciate that hip firing should do that, because that's the point of hip firing over aiming. But I don't think it makes it fun. And one of the games that really, really reinforced that for me personally was Kane and Lynch. Speaking of, the guy who voices BJ Blazkowicz voices Kane in Kane and Lynch. So the guy has been around. If you check his IMDb, it might surprise you. The dude's voiced some super interesting characters. And I love BJ Blazkowicz's voice. He's got such a nice timbre to it, so a nice tone. This is awkward as well. You notice how he just climbed down and I've got a fucking pipe in my hand? Ah, that is a bad situation to be in. Takes off guns that are good and gives you a pipe. And then there's a bunch of dudes staring at you and your cover's not great. So that is a rough transition right there. But we'll deal with it. If they threw grenades, we'd be forced to run out of this room as well, but they don't, which is really kind of them. Very rare as well. But Kane and Lynch, folks. Kane and Lynch 1 was a fantastic idea. You were part of a gang, essentially reenacting the film Heat and doing various bank jobs and interesting situations where you weren't the good guy, you were kind of the bad guy, and you were doing bad things in like a gritty, hard-edged kind of story. However, the gameplay on that game was so all over the place that it just... There were times when it felt great and you could see the vision and it could have been a fantastic game, and then there were times when you're like, this is the dumbest piece of shit I've ever played. Like, this is a game where when you're in cover, half your body's sticking out and enemies can still shoot you. And cover is literally the only way to survive in that game. Like, what is the point? It's stupid. And then the aiming. You put your gun on somebody and you fire 10 rounds and only 2 of them hit. Because the bullets are just not doing anything and they're just going everywhere. And, like, it was one of the worst feeling shooting games I've ever played. And a buddy of mine called Aiden bought it on release, started playing it, and absolutely fucking hated it. He hated it so much that he called me up, I came over to his house, and we played it on co-op because he couldn't stomach it single player because it was so rough. And then, the same night after we beat it, he then allowed me to borrow it, because back then I was a super achievement whore, and I wanted to go back through on Iron Lotus, or whatever the hardest difficulty was. But I will never forget that experience, and it's one of the reasons why I love Kane and Lynch so much more. Kane and Lynch 2, sorry, because not only does Kane and Lynch 2 have my all-time favourite gaming aesthetic of looking like shit, and it was recorded on like an iPhone with all the artifacts and the lens blare and all that kind of stuff and the blooms, but they fixed the shooting so that it had a realistic amount of missing, but enough precision to feel like you were shooting stuff, because It sucks putting your aimer on something and not hitting it. It does. And as much as you can cry realism, it's a game, dude. It has to have a level of satisfaction. And if you're a player looking for a simulation where all your bullets miss unless you fucking toss a coin, then that's perfectly fine. But in a game where you're running around gunning down armies of Nazis and regenerating life and getting super life and doing stupid stuff, like, we don't want... Like, this game is a great example. Name a single time so far where I've aimed on somebody and I've shot and I've missed. You can't. Because it's honest that way. It's transparent. There's the only randomness is when you hip fire, and that's how it should be. Hip fire, shotgun spread, and like maybe explosive or something. Like, look at this. If you can aim, you can win. Is there anything more beautiful and simple? I just don't think there is. And this is one of my favourite shootouts in the game, because there's a lot of clipping places, and you've got a great gun to do it, where you can take people's heads, and I love taking people's heads. It's not quite Gears of War 1, but it's up there. And then the shootout after this is incredibly tricky. But I've got a great strategy, so don't worry. But I love the way that the level design works here with the cover for us. A lot of the times you've noticed in these missions, the cover has not exactly been biased, but it's not been great for you. Some places, definitely, but not progressively. And what I mean by that is, I've moved from that bin to this from that door. Like, it's the perfect lateral movement of cover to get into positions of strength. Not all of the game has that level of design, because it's, you know, it's not meant to. It'd look weird if an office was just a sequence of chest-high walls spaced perfectly so you can zigzag through it. But that is one of those areas where it just organically moves you through and you get into a really, really good position. And I love finding those spots, and I love being part of that kind of encounter, because how many people did we kill then? 15 people? 20 people? We're one dude, one shirtless, muscled dude, and we took everybody out because we had a nice neck-high bin. You know, it just doesn't get much more beautiful than that simplicity. But as soon as you pop through here, the fight's going to kick off regardless of whether or not you want it to, and a bunch of guys are going to start coming. A couple of them are the big fellas who you need to kill. The big fellas, when they get close, they are one of the biggest risks in the game. And the drone needs to go down too. And my aim just suddenly got shit, which is frustrating. The good news is, the drones are fair. They fire the missiles where you were, not where you are. So you can strafe out of the explosion, and you should be okay. As soon as you kill everybody here, the truck's going to open up, and they're going to send a super soldier at you. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to preemptively hit him with a grenade to try and put some damage on him, and then I'm going to start crouching behind this piece of concrete and shooting him. However, he can destroy this concrete, so it's not perfect cover. So I run in his face, take out his light, and then I have to reload, unfortunately. But the body piece comes off, I drop a grenade at his feet, that does a nice little stun on him, then I spend a week reloading, and there is a flinch. Can we get the stun, please? There's the stun. Oh, there's the kill. Right, pick his gun up now, and then move over to that truck on the left, quickly, because there's a dog coming. So, push over here, get the checkpoint. Now that the checkpoint's happened, you don't have to worry about your life here, you're not going to get hit. Stand where I am here. Dog runs in, then the dog runs off. Move forward, and the moment you hear it move back. So just tease it out. Move forward. There it is. It's coming. Shoot it. Then it runs off. Move forward. Tease it out, and then shoot it. It cannot attack you where I'm standing. Its pathing will not let it. Move forward. Move back. And then you will not have to waste any of your munitions against this bullshit enemy. And there you go. A potentially incredibly difficult fight, trivialized by the fact that they programmed that creature to run away if you hid in those rooms. And then after it's dead, a bunch of soldiers spawn. My advice here is to use range, go back to where we started this encounter, and counter-shoot them from there. They'll have a much tougher time of shooting you, and you can just pop them off. However, I just wanted to get a little gung-ho after shitting on that dog. And it doesn't really work, because at this range, they have the advantage because they're a better shot than me, and they do more damage than I do. But I really should be backing up, because the cover's not the best, even though it is still pretty good. But I'm not going to listen to my advice because I recorded this yesterday. But games where guns don't shoot where they should, you know. I borrowed my PlayStation 3 to Aiden recently. Aiden does not like the Uncharted series. He likes the idea of it, he likes the spectacle of it, it's obviously a beautiful game, but he thinks the shooting on those games is shit. And he's right. And you need to look at this objectively, guys, before you're like, oh, but Uncharted's really good, what are you on about? Like, the shooting on Uncharted is perfectly competent. But it's not great, and that's a distinction that needs to be made. And the reason it's not great is quite simple. When you aim your gun at times, the bullets do not go where you're aiming. It's just fact. And it's been like that on all the Uncharteds. It is intentional, folks. It's intentional to give them the shooting mechanics that they have. But unfortunately, those shooting mechanics feel shitty to a lot of people that are used to much more precision. The Evil Within is another game that's guilty of this. How many times have you aimed on somebody's face with the gun and you've fired and you've seen the bullet go somewhere else? Because there's a random variable, even when you're aiming, on where the bullet goes. And it's something that they do intentionally to make it more difficult to shoot and aim. And it's something that some people must like, because it's one of those things where, you know, when I read a review for Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, not a single person mentions that the shooting in those games is loose as fuck. Nobody mentions that, because they're too busy sucking its dick, and it's got a very pretty penis, so I understand this, but there are problems with that game that nobody talks about, and I'll never understand it. Like, every other game that's wonky like that gets shit on. They'll point it out to death, but when it's Uncharted, it's too beautiful, it's too pretty, it's too sassy. Nobody mentions that, you know, the guns feel like shit at times. And I don't know if it's because these people don't play on Crushing, where you have to be precise, and when you try and do those moments and the guns fail you, you're like, shit, I don't feel like I should have died then. And Aiden played Uncharted 3. I was really excited for him to play it because I think it's a fantastic game, and he feels the exact same as he felt about the other ones. He thinks the shooting's shitty, because the shooting is shitty. And it needn't be so, because it's so easy to fix that, guys, but it is a design choice, and it's something that they've committed to, so hats off to them. But, like, it's just that thing, isn't it? Certain games, I think it accentuates, other games it doesn't. Like, look at Gears of War. Gears of War, even when you're aiming on some of those guns, the bullets are inside the reticle. The reticles are quite large, though, so I think it makes it easier to forgive.
What's your name?
But as we move into here, there's going to be a little bit of exposition here, guys, which I'm going to keep in, because I'm going to be picking stuff up. But I think Gears is a great example of a title that uses bullets not necessarily going where you aim them well, because the where you aim them part is wider. And I think that's one of the things that would really, really help Uncharted. But on Uncharted, I think, isn't the aimer a dot? Or like one of the aimers is a dot? Or something close to a dot, like a small circle? That might be The Last of Us. But that's a great example, actually. The Last of Us is a game where bullets not necessarily going where you aim them precisely is an accentuation of the game. Because The Last of Us is meant to be this realistic, frenetic survival. It's not meant to be this stupid, crazy Steven Spielberg, Indiana Jones adventure where the baddies always lose and the goodies always win, and like ride off into the sunset with a giant explosion and like a bloody Spitfire. But on The Last of Us, when you shoot and it's like the one bullet you've got and it misses, it feels like it was meant to miss, and then you have to start fighting because they're in your face trying to kill you, and it adds to it. But if that were to happen in Uncharted, I would get pissed off and hate everything about it for like 30 seconds, and then I get a headshot and I'm like, oh, it's okay again. But do you know a great game for transparent aiming, which is the term I'm going to dub this? Dead to Rights, is it Redemption? I think the most recent one was. On that game, your aimer is a circle, it's a dot, a very small dot. If you put that dot on a person's head, regardless of range, and you shoot, they die. Every time. The heavies might be different, the bosses might be different, but the game also slows down a little bit as you hit them in the face and gives you an opportunity to kind of chain headshots. And that, to me, even though that game is kind of like, it's not amazing, it's just good, but in the best janky, fun, kind of B-tier way. And the shooting on that game is empirically better than Uncharted, which is this super top tier, massively expensive, massively popular franchise that everybody worships, yet no motherfucker's talking about Dead to Rights, in spite of the bullets going where you aim them. And there is nothing more beautiful. Thank you very much for watching. You take care now.